When a dog presses a wet nose against your face and starts licking, the automatic human response is to interpret the action as affection. We assume we are receiving the canine equivalent of a kiss. This is the anthropomorphic fallacy. We are taking a complex behavior from an entirely different species and forcing it into a human emotional framework. Canine lingual cutaneous contact, the act of a dog licking your skin, is actually a highly stratified evolutionary toolkit. The first tool in this set operates as a mechanism for sensory data gathering. It is a direct survival vestige inherited from wild wolf ancestors. The second tool forms the basis of a nuanced social grammar. Dogs use their tongues to navigate pack hierarchy and actively de-escalate conflict. Finally, the third tool operates as a clinical red flag. Repetitive licking often indicates an underlying medical pathology or acute psychological distress. To accurately interpret a dog's physical and mental state, we have to abandon our human bias. We must translate this toolkit exactly as the dog intends to use it. We establish the evolutionary baseline by observing the den behavior of wild canids. When adult wolves return from a hunt, puppies aggressively lick their muzzles and the commissures of their lips. This mechanical stimulation is a survival tactic. It forces the adult to trigger a regurgitation reflex, providing the pups with partially digested, protein-rich meat. Modern domestic dogs retain this ancient survival mechanism. This explains why a dog is highly motivated to lick your face after a meal. They are participating in a vestigial nutritional solicitation ritual. Beyond food residue, human skin functions as a chronological salty roadmap of environmental data. Dogs have a powerful biological drive to seek out sodium chloride. These are constantly secreted through sweat. By licking your hands or legs, the dog ingests essential salts. Simultaneously, their tongue decodes microscopic residues of everything you have touched and everywhere you have been throughout the day. What feels like an intimate greeting is driven by an ancient biological instinct for sustenance. To process this chemical data, dogs utilize the Jacobson's organ, an olfactory sensor on the roof of the mouth. Licking mechanically directs moisture upward into this organ. It doesn't process standard smells, but detects non-volatile chemical signals, pheromones, carrying specific biological data. When humans experience emotional shifts like stress or fear, our bodies excrete specific pheromonal markers. By licking, the dog routes these chemicals inward, allowing them to smell your internal biochemical state in real time. We are entirely blind to our own chemical output, yet during a simple physical interaction, the dog is actively downloading our biometric data. A lick acts as a biological data transfer, giving the dog an invisible high-fidelity readout of human emotion. Licking does play a role in social bonding. Prosocial licking is a form of allo-grooming, observed in many mammals to maintain hygiene and connections. During relaxed mutual physical contact, both dog and human experience a release of oxytocin, the cuddle chemical. The mechanical action of the tongue also triggers endorphins and dopamine in the dog's brain, activating their internal reward center and making licking naturally soothing. However, in canine social grammar, a lick is frequently deployed as an active submission signal, commonly known as the kiss to dismiss. This appeasement behavior is triggered when a dog feels conflicted or threatened. Common catalysts include a human abruptly leaning over the animal or initiating a restrictive hug. This chart from a standardized behavioral test categorizes canine responses. The dark bars represent reactions accompanied by licking. Crucially, engaged in submissive behavior deployed lip licking 33% of the time, compared to only 7% during friendly sociopositive approaches. High-tension moments, the dog is not showing affection. The lick is an appeasement gesture that translates to, "I am not a threat." If a human misinterprets this kiss to dismiss and continues to crowd the animal, the dog's warnings are ignored. To secure personal space, the dog is forced to escalate to a growl or a bite. Failing to differentiate between an oxytocin bond and an anxiety-driven plea for space actively endangers both the dog and the human. Beyond communication, licking crosses a pathological threshold when it becomes repetitive, targets non-food surfaces, or causes physical tissue damage to the dog. The biological driver here is self-medication. The dog is desperately trying to trigger that soothing endorphin release to cope with chronic pain or anxiety. A high percentage of dogs who excessively lick floors, walls, or air suffer from gastrointestinal distress. Conditions like acid reflux cause acute nausea. To cope, the dog licks obsessively to stimulate saliva. That saliva acts as an alkaline buffer to neutralize excess stomach acid. Dermatological issues trigger a similar cycle. Dogs with atopic dermatitis lick to relieve itching, but the introduced moisture breeds bacteria, creating infected skin lesions known as hotspots.
Psychologically, this behavior manifests as canine compulsive disorder, or CCD. Often linked to genetics, CCD turns licking into an involuntary coping mechanism. Compulsive licking presents a severe zoonotic risk. Canine saliva contains a diverse ecosystem of bacteria, capable of causing significant infections if introduced to broken skin. Compulsive licking is never a harmless quirk. It's a blaring red flag, demanding immediate medical diagnostics. Managing problematic licking begins with tracking the frequency and context of the behavior. This provides the data your veterinarian needs to rule out gastrointestinal pain, joint pain, or allergies. Vocal punishment for licking fails because it increases the dog's stress, fueling the urge to self-soothe. The correct approach is structural behavioral redirection using calm, neutral commands like sit or go to your bed. You must also provide appropriate ethological outlets. The dog has a hardwired biological urge for oral stimulation that needs to be satisfied safely. Tools like textured lick mats or frozen puzzle feeders let dogs achieve their required endorphin release without targeting human skin, furniture, or their own paws. The canine lingual toolkit is vast and specific. It carries the evolutionary vestige of a wild wolf pup soliciting nutrients from a hunt. It powers an advanced sensory array, feeding chemical data straight into the vulnerable organ. And it draws a critical life-saving distinction between pro-social affection and an anxiety-driven appeasement signal. By abandoning the anthropomorphic fallacy, we strip away our own assumptions and finally learn to listen to what our dogs are actually saying. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.